Hey guys, a bit of a different Wobs video this time, but we strongly feel that we had to shine a light on this brilliant and unique game that we found. We haven't seen any online presence for the game whatsoever, and hope that this video might help begin some kind of online discourse for it all, since it represents such a unique approach to gameplay mechanics and narrative devices. This is SWEYET, or Sweet. It's a dreaming emulator type game, akin to LSD Dream Emulator for the PS1. LSD Dream Emulator is a game that really appeals to us as a kind of creepy, unsettling art medium that demonstrates the uncanny yet familiar landscape that is dreaming. It's something so familiar to all of us, but not something that we can ever truly share with someone because, dreams don't have multiplayer unfortunately. Games like LSD Dream Emulator, and much more recently, Cruelty Squad, are the closest games that have unsettling experiences that touch on the more unhinged and nonsensical parts of the brain, and they often lead to immersive and intriguing experiences despite being on the surface absolute chaotic nonsense. One of the more intriguing things about this style of game is how it's possible to marry obtuse mechanics with obtuse virtual design to create an even more obtuse and unintuitive experience, which contradictingly creates a more engaging and deliberately unsettling experience for the player. A good example for this is the reload mechanic from Cruelty Squad, where in order to reload your weapon, you need to physically swing your mouse down, mimicking the action of removing the clip from a firearm in real life. Actions like these, which are deliberately invasive to otherwise fluid gameplay, are critical to the feeling of disconnect and uncanniness which dream emulation games strive for, and it works absolute wonders to make a player feel like they're in a dream-like situation, taking actions which feel just slightly off in order to more realistically recreate the inaccurate sensation of a dream. On the 26th of September 2024, Tom and I were searching through Steam for games that we could data mine. It's something we both like to do in our spare time to explore hidden messages or find unused assets, and we came across SWEYET, Dreaming Emulator, a familiar discomfort of the unpredictable. Immediately, the absurd graphics, weird art style, and title of the game naturally grabbed our attention. The game is made by Liam Kenner, or as he prefers to go by, Shmiam Shmena, and the game's description states, learn to live without control while solving dynamic dreamscape that changes through real-life blinks. It seems an intriguing and promising introduction for the type of games whose files we love to dissect. After browsing through some of the files for a while, we discovered many copies of the same texture ever so slightly edited to appear more unsettling or absurd. We were wondering what the purpose of these textures could be when we noticed the AI disclaimer on the store page. Occasionally on real life Blink, in-game textures may swap to pre-rendered AI variants of the textures for a moment. Again, the game references real life blinks in its descriptive text, and it seems to imply that before your eyes in real time, as you blink, subjects around you change and morph, exactly as they might do if you were dreaming. This concept was so exciting and enticing to us, that even though we'd seen a lot of the textures and models that the game had to offer, we were very keen to jump in and engage it as a full-form piece of media instead of its individual assets. Immediately, the game has a confusing and an alien-like interface. Additionally, your frame rate will be a rather low 25 and is locked there. As the player, you'd think to change your frame rate in the options menu to try and rectify this, but somehow it's an exciting first step to see how SWEYET displays menus, because the very nature of the user interface perfectly sets you up for the experience you're about to have. There's very little text to help you. Instead, you're selecting menu headers and adjusting different settings in the game based on intuition and context alone, to the point you might even need to experiment with options multiple times before you realize what they actually do. The sound menu, for example, is a self-contained mini shooter game, which is really cool. There's a realistic chance that the audio setting you want is hidden behind another option when you open the menu, and so you need to open it again to successfully change the volume level. The settings menu also explained to us multiple mentions of real-life blinking, as referenced on the store page. The game can use your webcam to stimulate the in-game blinking mechanic, which we'll get back to in a minute. The movements your head makes into the webcam are demonstrated by the lovely little brain and face in the bottom right of your screen. There is also a manual blinking setting which can be toggled on and off for if the gameplay is confusing or if the blinking is too disorienting, which is really nice for capturing footage for this recording. If you don't have a webcam, you can also use the tilde key to simulate the blinking if you still want the change in textures and blinking mechanics. Also, if you don't have the manual blinking option set on, the textures change every time you reload a level instead of as you blink, which makes for a really interesting memory puzzle where stuff changes every time you revisit a stage, which helped greatly to disguise an NPC questline we discovered after thinking we'd seen all the demo had to offer, because the elements of the game changing seemed to be inconsequential to how the level actually played out at first. The first time we entered the casino level, for instance, the roulette table had a blurry and nonsensical texture, and we thought nothing of it because barely anything in the game so far had made any sense anyway. But when we revisited the level later, it became much clearer and we utilized it to earn a lot of money. Throughout the game, the environment gives you very little indication of the sheer number of mechanics that the game has, and in order to offset this, you can pick up little thought bubbles or whatever the f these are. A brief tutorial at the start of the game has you fill out some very important forms, and kindly informs you that pressing H will be important in the future, and this is one of my favourite mechanics in the game. Pressing H opens a kind of thought menu where you play as, well, yourself or the brain, and you roll around inside your own thoughts, where you can revisit these thought bubbles that you've picked up, and they'll tell you a whole host of interesting things disguised amongst actually helpful cryptic clues for helping you solve mechanics. The first example of this is when you're making a delicious pizza. The game offers you the thought, tabula hands, and at first we both wrote this off as just being some nonsense, and we both just tried to explore the pizza making mechanics. But it dawned on us that it was trying to tell us that the tab key lets us switch between the hands that we were controlling. There's tons of cryptic mechanical guides hidden amongst the thoughts you collect this way, which has the indirect function of making us fully read and digest every thought bubble. It amplifies the entertainment we get from reading the jokey ones and attempting to interpret them as actual tips, and also creates a positive feedback loop for discovering new gameplay mechanics from decrypting the more useful hints, resulting in an amazingly juxtapositional immersive experience. One really interesting design mechanic which adds to the way this game can bring you in and out of a cohesive understanding of what's going on is that the thought menu doesn't actually pause the game. So while you're rolling around trying to collect your thoughts and examine the hints that you've collected, your body outside of the thought menu is walking around and interacting with parts of the game, meaning that when you feel you've got an idea for what you want to try next, bam, you're in a totally new place with no idea what's going on. There are 4 environments to explore in the current demo of the game: the hub world, the pizzeria, the casino, and the bank. Each of these levels offer unique soundscapes, experiences, characters, mechanics, and even an NPC quest line which spans across all of them in different layers. In the casino, for instance, you can choose to become a bartender and mix up a cocktail which the game cryptically calls a casino for a certain customer, using contextual clues to get the ratios correct and applying them to the unique cocktail making mechanics. There's many different mechanical minigames in each of these environments, which at first seem daunting and borderline impossible, but with enough experimentation and contextual clues, you begin to grasp the complex control schemes which allow you to engage with the games. When we first saw the monkey parkour game you enter upon going round to the bank vault inside the bank level, for instance, we initially suspected it might be unfinished or broken, until we figured out you can individually control each of the monkey's limbs to climb across the bank vault to get to the ending. Eventually we got quite good at the parkour minigame, and before long we found ourselves quite literally flying across the puzzle. Being able to access any level you've reached at any time via the pause menu gives you a real sense of freedom, and lets you experiment with new things as you gain new information. From what we found online, this is not Aussie developer Liam Kenner's first dabble into game design, but in our opinion, his work is such a diamond in the rough. The complex mechanical and visual designs he uses conveys such an immersive dreamlike experience, in a comedic and unsettling way that really itches the deepest parts of your brain, successfully pairing typically distant feelings such as uneasiness and familiarity in a way that makes for a hilarious and fresh experience that is so far criminally underrated. And the best part, this is literally a free demo of the full game which is yet to release. We'd wholeheartedly recommend trying out this demo if anything we've explained here sounds interesting to you. Kenner also has other itch.io games available from his own social media account, which can be found by doing some digging into his developer account on Steam, accessible from the demo page, which we'll be exploring ourselves soon. We're also actually a little stuck on how to progress, and hopefully the comment section on this video can serve as a little bulletin board for discoveries in the game as it stands right now. We found that there's websites you can access that are tied to Liam Kenner's social media tags that are giving us crazy ARG vibes, as well as us having difficulty in solving the seeds puzzle in the main hub world of the game. So if you have any ideas or make any progress in discovering this stuff, please let us know down below. There seems to be a lot of stuff hidden here. Since beginning the script, we've actually realised that this goes a lot deeper than we initially thought, and we're probably going to make more videos on this in the future, once we have more information and discovered stuff for ourselves. And that was just a little taste of what we found. We hope you really enjoyed this, and be sure to let us know if there's any other games you'd like us to cover. Thank you for watching.